Welcome to the Greater Victoria Real Estate Show. I'm Jane Johnston, realtor here in Victoria, and this is a show where we cut through the noise and talk about what's actually happening in our local market.
I'm Andrew Plank, also a Victoria realtor. We'll talk stats, timing, neighborhoods, and what we're seeing behind the scenes.
And I'm Jen Lowe, mortgage broker. I'm the numbers person of the group, and I'll chime in with the mortgage side.
Each week, we break down what the market means for you.
All focused right here on Greater Victoria.
No hype, no pressure, just honest conversations, local insight, and practical advice.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Greater Victoria Real Estate Show. It is July 29th. I'm Jane Johnston, and I'm here with...
Hey, everybody. This is Andrew Plank with the Vibe Collective, and I'm talking funny because Jane did.
And...
Jen Lowe, mortgage broker with Dominion Lending Center's Modern Mortgage Group. Good to see you guys.
You too. You didn't play along.
Yeah. I'm still waking up, I guess. Yeah.
Okay,
more tea. Yeah.
Fair.
Okay, so today we're going to do a mortgage update, and then we're going to talk about what happens when you find issues during a home inspection. So let's get into it. Jen, what's happening?
Yeah, not too much is happening. As we head into August, it's usually a pretty quiet time in the mortgage world as far as rate changes go. One thing I thought I'd touch on is just the difference from a fixed to a variable rate. So the spread, when you're looking at choosing an interest rate right now, we've got a significant difference. So variable rate, you're taking a little bit more risk. As your rate will change throughout your mortgage term. Fixed rate, you've got that guarantee for, call it 5-year term. I just did some real quick calculations on a $700,000 mortgage. Difference in your payment is about $350 a month if you were to go fixed versus variable.
Fixed is $350 a month
more. That's correct. Yeah. So I always like to talk about that as well as talk about the different types of variables, because just if you go with a variable rate, it doesn't mean your payment is going to change. There is a fixed payment variable rate mortgage available with some lenders. So I like to explore that as well.
And are you finding people going for it or not?
Yes.
Like, what are they? What are they going for? What are they choosing?
The fixed payment variable, I like to refer to it as kind of an in-between product, because people get scared. They don't want their payment to change. They want to know what their payment is, especially first-time home buyers. So that fixed payment variable offers that peace of mind in knowing what your payment's going to be, but also paying less interest.
And so, but sometimes what happens is if your rates go up, you can get called, right?
If the rate goes up significantly to what's called this trigger point or trigger rate, which did happen during COVID, then yes, you need to increase you'll be told by the bank you need to increase your payment. When I look historically on rates, and when I tell my clients, let's look at the Bank of Canada history you can go back up 50 years on the Bank of Canada website and see where rates have gone and how often they change. And I really recommend, let's take out that COVID piece, because that was definitely an unprecedented time to see how much your rate's going to fluctuate. So again, going back to that, right now, the difference with fixed to variable is 0.9%. So how long will it take rates to change that 0.9%?
Okay, so I have a question. So you know how you do your extra payments? You can hear something rubbing against somebody's microphone or something. You hear that?
No.
A car.
Really?
A little bit. But
hey, it's quiet here. I don't know.
Okay, well, anyway. Um, I don't know. Okay, so you know how you do an accelerated payment bi-weekly, and so you have an extra payment. So you could take off 4 years on your mortgage over 5 years.
Yep.
What about when you do that that different version? What happens? What do you call it again?
Well, the fixed payment
You
variable.
call it variable fixed.
Yeah, fixed payment variable. So instead of a fixed amortization, fixed amortization means your payment's going to change. The fixed payment, the life of your mortgage will change. So you can even further take advantage and go, okay, I'm going to increase my payments by $350 a month as interest rates remain low, and you're going to take, again, some additional time off of your mortgage.
Yeah.
The thing that people do that.
Well, but what it is though is that if you were to take the fixed rate, so if you take the fixed rate, your payment's $350 more. Well, let's go with the fixed payment variable. Set your payment
as if it was a fixed rate.
You're building in that flexibility there. So yeah.
And you know, if you were to go to a variable rate that wasn't a fixed payment, because Jane, you alluded to this, if interest rates go up, that fixed rate does eventually change if the variable rate goes high enough. But if you're on a regular variable rate and it goes up high, you're also paying more anyway.
That's right.
So it's not like you're worse off going with fixed rate variable versus variable rate.
The fixed payment variable
rate.
Fixed payment variable rate versus a more standard variable rate mortgage, where your payments are not fixed.
Yeah.
Well, I'm coming up for renewal, so let's see what happens.
Yeah. You guys got to talk.
You bet.
Okay, so what are we talking about today?
We are gonna, well, first of all, let's just do the weekly. Oh, well, do you want to do the weekly stats first, and then we'll talk about?
Sure. Yeah. So today, folks, we're going to talk about what happens if unforeseen things come up from your building inspection, and how do you address that? But we're going to get into the stats, and this is what's happened in the last week in the Greater Victoria marketplace. So we had 257 properties go live on the market in the past week. That's down a little bit over the 270 the week before, and not to be unexpected given we're moving into very close to August here, and it tends to slow down. 153 properties went pending though, which is up from the 140 the week before, and 152 price decreases. Again, a little bit of an increase as people are motivated to get their properties priced appropriately, up from 140 the week before. And still, this is a lot of price decreases we're seeing because properties are tending to sit on the market right now. 64 properties expired unsold versus 63 the week before, so that's pretty much a wash.
It's so even. It's just
even
very
boring. So boring.
Yeah, interesting.
Nothing dramatic.
So the ratio of list to sale this week for the past 7 days, 59.53%, compared to 51.85 last week. So that's good. And we're at 552 net unconditional sales this month compared to 680 for the same month last year. So, well, we only have a couple of days left. We'll see. New listings were at 1,081, so we've slowed down. That's compared to 1,362 in July last year. And total active listings, we are down under 4,000 to 3,893 compared to 3,702 last year. So, yay!
What would you? Because I've got my thoughts here about this, but you know, we hit a 4,000 peak for active listings, and it's coming down off the peak, but we're also moving into a slower period in the summertime. So what would you attribute the actual less listings on active listings on market? Is people pulling are people pulling their properties back? Because it's not all sales that's bringing this down.
That's true. I think I have some people choosing not to sell it this time, like they're withdrawing from the market and they're waiting to see. For people who are moving across the market, I'm just telling them it's going to be a wash. Like it's a good time actually to move, especially if you're going to move slightly higher because the market's a bit compressed. So I think it's a good time. And then when it rebounds, you can take advantage of that. So, yeah, I don't know. I would say if you're a buyer, it's a great time.
If you're a buyer, but yes. And so if it's a great time, if you're a buyer and you want to sell your home, and let's say your home is vacant and it's no harm for you to have it on market, maybe you might want to consider that. I know a lot of people don't want to be bothered with keeping their home clean and keeping it updated. Like their kids are coming and going and it's summertime and everybody's home and it's a lot harder to arrange showings. So people do take their homes off market for summertime. Jane, I just want to dive into what you just alluded to, calling it a compressed market. Do you want to expand on that actually? Because I think a lot of people don't really understand the advantage they can get from when, even if it's down from what they paid, if their home is not worth what they paid before, but they want to upgrade in the market, how it's an advantage.
So if you look at the market as a slinky, and the upper part of the market is coming down, there's actually a little more give at the bottom of the market too. So the whole market is shifting, but you're seeing it compress a bit from the top down. What happens is if they're selling here and they're buying here, whereas before they would have been selling maybe a little higher and buying up here, now the delta is less. So when the market goes back, they'll have more of an advantage. So let's say the delta now is 50,000, and maybe in a year or year and a half, it'll be 150,000 between the two properties.
Yeah, you're trying to upgrade the market. Go ahead, Jane.
Are you wearing 3 watches?
No, I'm wearing 2 watches and a sensor.
I was distracted.
Squirrel. Okay, well, this is a Garmin and I got it for rowing. My husband gave it to me as a gift. And so I like to wear it because I want to honor. And this is a watch he gave me as well.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Do we need to do this or this?
So this is the one I actually tell the time on. And this is the one I use for sports and all this stuff. And then this, I'm actually monitoring my health just to try and really keep on top of it. Because I'm on a health kick, just because I'm feeling mortal.
Yeah.
Oh.
I've seen some of your posts and you're definitely kicking it at the gym, Jane.
Yeah.
Nice job.
You know what? Well, let's just go off topic. I weighed the same weight till I had kids, and then after I had kids, I bounced back down to my regular weight. And then once I started real estate, it is so hard. It is so stressful to maintain your weight. Don't you think, Andrew?
I've been on a kick to, be healthy and lower some weight, and I've lost 10 pounds. But I was just driving in the car the other day, I had to go out to Sydney for something, and then I had to go out to Machosen for something else. And then you're spending all this time just sitting in your car. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, I'm not in a job where I'm active. I'm in a job where, yes, we get out, we walk around homes, we do this and we do that. And it's not an office job necessarily, but
you're sitting.
And further to that, and Jane, I know you're not guilty of this, but I have, because sometimes your day is not your own at times. If you don't have control of your day, it can get away from you. And sometimes you get a call in the morning from someone saying, I really need to see this property, and you shuffle things around and make it happen. And then something else happens and you've got to go out to another property because the inspector needs to come back. This just happened to me the other day. And so your food intake and your health is all over the place as well. So maybe I'm grabbing takeout instead of going home for a nice healthy meal. I just don't have time, or I'm missing a meal.
I think it's addictive too. I think that they make fast food a bit addictive. So I think, addicted to it. And I would say in January, I had a sort of reckoning, and I went to the doctor and had multiple tests, and he's like, you have fat around your organs, which I've never had an issue with, and my blood pressure was a little high. And so I'm like, you know what? I can either enjoy eating junk food, or I can enjoy a longer, healthier life. Whoops.
We lost Jen. She'll be back. I trust her.
I feel like I'm coming back.
She didn't want to hear about this healthy food stuff. And
you know what was funny though?
What?
I had a DEXA scan done where they go and they x-ray your body from top to bottom. And so you see, like, I have a lot of lean tissue, and I'm like super muscular, as in top 10 percentile muscle. But then I had a lot of adipose tissue on the outside. So yeah, it's just been interesting to get it all back.
Never heard of a DEXA scan. This is truly an x-ray?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's multiple x-rays over time. And she's back. Welcome.
Not sure what happened.
You
had to go get a quick takeout?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk inspections. I did one yesterday, I did one doing one today. And sometimes stuff happens, so you're sometimes it's expected based on the age of the property. Like maybe, I don't know, you find out that perimeter drains are not great, or the roof is maybe worse than you thought, or the hot water tank needed to be replaced. Andrew just went through a couple of inspections as well, and he found issues. So what was your strategy, Andrew, when you found these issues?
I think, there's two sides to the strategy. One is managing client expectation. What was the purpose of this inspection, and what does this information suggest what should we do with this information? So, like you said, some homes are older, and it's just to be expected that these things will come up. And that may be, it might be that the buyer is expecting everything to be brand new and fully functional. And that's, if you're not managing your client expectation, there's a challenge. On the other hand, if you've done your negotiations and agreed on a price, and now you're conditional on inspections and so forth, and something surprising comes up, that's where, it's time to have a conversation potentially with the seller about that. And you don't always, right?
It speaks to disclosure on the seller side, because it's the fact it's when you find it out that's the issue. So if you go in, you go in and you know that this house has knob and tube wiring, and you write the offer, it has knob and tube wiring. And so it's factored into your price. But when you find out during the inspection, it's a bit of an eye opener, and you're like, oh, and sometimes buyers will walk away, and then the seller loses out because the buyer is no longer interested. But sometimes most of the time, I would say the buyer agent is trying to negotiate some sort of resolution between the buyer and the seller regarding that.
Right. I mean, I've had buyers who, and this goes back to the buyer side of managing the buyer expectation. Buyers who you may even say, you might point out there's some knob and tube as you're walking through the home. If they don't actually understand what that means, and then the building inspector, goes further, then and so they don't understand what that means before their inspection, then you've kind of derelicted your own duties. So it's really important to really help the client understand before they go into the negotiations what overall is being shown. But then when we see something like vermiculite in the attic, which nobody anticipated, and vermiculite, folks, is deemed to have asbestos content in it because the mines that were mining it, vermiculite itself is safe. You can still buy it today, but vermiculite in attics is deemed to have asbestos content. So anyway, it's a it's a hazard, and it's very expensive to remedy.
It's mined in the same place as asbestos. Jen?
Yeah.
But in an older home, isn't that relatively normal? Or
Vermiculite, it's not unknown, and it's certainly not uncommon, but it's also a very expensive thing to remedy if it's there, and if you plan to do renovations, it can be really problematic.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is when you have vermiculite in an attic is you go and get it tested. So what they'll do is they'll take 3 samples in the attic, usually in corners or whatever. And what they were doing before when they installed the vermiculite, they had bags of the stuff. And so this is why they do the 3 samples, because sometimes some had asbestos and some didn't. And it's where the vein of asbestos was in the rock. So it's very flexible material. But there's a high likelihood, and they used to say if you had, 0.5% or whatever, if it was very small around, it wasn't a big deal. And now they've changed that. So it's kind of like the oil tank issue as well.
You know how the oil tank issue has also evolved over time. Apparently, asbestos and the vermiculite is now deemed to be asbestos containing, even if you get it tested.
Even if it's not?
Even if it's not. So there's no point to testing it now. It's just deemed to be hazardous material in the home.
So why are they still selling it?
Well, so if you're not using it for insulation and you're buying it from now, the modern vermiculite is not coming from the mines that had the asbestos content, and it is still used as an insulator. I've seen it. I don't remember why it was there, but it was in a marine supply store. So you still do see it, but it's not used as an insulating product, and it's certainly not something that product from the 40s and 50s is not something you can use.
So these things are things you can't sort of see with the eye, right off the bat. And so the purpose of the home inspector is to come and just discern, of the big systems of the house, which ones are functioning at 100%, which ones maybe need tweaking. So they'll look at, like, for instance, the hot water tank. Now it's pretty easy, actually, as a buyer. We can just take a picture of the serial number and figure out the age ourselves. But
Good old reverse image AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before it was, we'd find out, the hot water tank is, 8 years old, and they live in a strata, and they definitely need to replace it. Yeah. So these issues all come up. So sometimes with buyers, I say to them, listen, let's just write the offer, and then we'll negotiate it, because usually a great listing agent will tell a seller to replace it before the hot water tank. Anyway, Andrew?
So the one thing about telling a client, let's just write the offer and negotiate it afterwards. Sellers are always more negotiable, I feel like, right off the bat when you're negotiating the main contract. They don't always, depending on the seller, they're not always as open to a renegotiation after the fact, especially if they feel like they're being nickeled and dimed. But further to that, if there's a backup offer in place, or they've had a whole bunch of other activity on the property and they feel like they could resell the home 10 times over for more than they had accepted, they're going to be a lot less negotiable. Now, I guess the caveat to that is, if you've discovered a smoking gun, something that is going to cause other people to also have pause, the seller will probably want to deal with you in good faith around that, because if it goes back to market, it's also got to be dealt with. And there are things that can really impact buyer's valuation of a home.
And big ticket items are things like the roof, the insulation, a wiring issue, a plumbing issue, perimeter drain issue, foundation. These
Yeah.
are all things that all like when you're in a home inspection. So every house has a story. So the inspector is supposed to tell you what the story is.
Yeah.
What's the history of this property?
Yeah.
And they can
Jen?
tell by looking.
From the lending standpoint, I know it's a strategy to get that price reduction when, if something's discovered at the home inspection, let's remove our conditions, but throw in the requested price reduction. Communication with your broker is key, as well as depending on what that reason is for the reduction and how much the reduction is, it can raise some red flags or challenges.
Yeah. You would think
So,
a reduction would be positive, but if it's a reduction because of something. And you just asked, we had a transaction recently and you were like, why was the reduction?
Yeah.
And so I gave you a very basic answer.
And that was no issue. It was no
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
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 But, and I don't.
So is a trigger point like 10,000? Is that what it is?
It depends on the price point of the property as well, for what the amount of the reduction is. I mean, I don't, if there's a reduction, I send it in. If the lender comes back and asks, I just want to be prepared. Okay, well, what the reason was, if they ask.
The other thing is, sorry.
Well, if the reason is that, the foundation is crumbling, that's going to be a problem for the lender.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. And insurance.
Yes.
So the thing that I realized this week is just that buyers really are naive, right? And we are guiding them through the process. So the more transparent we are upfront about what's happening, the better it is for them, the better the experience is.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, like, I have buyers who go to Google and they'll look at Google reviews or whatever and certain service providers based on Google reviews without listening to me, and an inspector, a good inspector is worth the money to find these things out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. And Google reviews, some people are better asking for reviews and they will get them. And some people are just popular or good looking. They get good reviews.
I know. I can't help it.
I know. Yeah. So, yeah. So how do you compete with that, Jane? How do you compete with that?
You know what's funny? It's like different inspectors are also good for different things. So
Yes.
some inspectors are great
totally.
at stratas and condos. And this is a great example of where you find, like, you may find out all of a sudden you're in a newer building, but you may find out that, oh my God, the parquet is crumbling or something you totally didn't expect. And you're having a big assessment coming up, or let's say the depreciation report is not yet done and you're trying to figure out what's going on. It really can be a really stressful time. So
There.
take it with a grain of salt.
So one of the interesting arguments and conversations that comes up in renegotiating is, let's say you make your offer, and when you make your offer, the home looks good from the outside. It's got a nice street appeal, and the roof appears to be older, but appears to still be fine. And speaking from recent experience here, building inspector goes in and finds the roof is actively leaking and is actually at end of life. So now there's a question of renegotiating because, the clients believed they still had a number of years left on this roof. Weren't anticipating taking on the cost and expense of a new roof. It's quite common, and I'm just curious how common you see this, that the buyer says, oh, it needs a new roof, so therefore, and the new roof is going to cost $25,000. I want $25,000 off the price.
So I always say there are three approaches to this. One is you can ask for $25,000 off, but just understand the seller's like, you're going to have the benefit of the roof for the next 25 years.
Yeah.
There's asking for 25 and expecting to get 50% off because the seller has sold the house and, they've been living in it and probably should have replaced it. Partly their responsibility that it's leaking. And the other is, especially if it's a popular house and you're getting a lot of activity, you may get no money off, but then you may have an insurance issue. And the issue on the listing side is a disclosure issue. So they're going to have to disclose it to other buyers too.
In future. Yeah. Yeah.
So
that being said, disclosures are only required if it is material and latent or hidden, right? Can't be found in a general building inspection. So, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to make this is a blanket statement that's 100% true, but generally speaking, my understanding of a material latent defect is it is material and it is latent. It is material and it is hidden. And if it's visible to a general building inspection, it's not necessary to disclose it. Should it be disclosed? Yes, but it's not necessary. But the next building inspector is going to find it anyway.
That's no the thing. Like, this is exactly what I was saying. Like, I think it's a good idea to disclose these things ahead of time. So,
yes.
That way, when you get the offer, then you're not dealing with a surprise because it's not what they find out, it's when they find it out, because they will feel like it's a bait and switch. If you...
Yeah. This is a Jane Johnston quote, folks. Write it down. It's not what they find out, it's when they find it out. It's just true. Yeah, great.
Yeah. I had a client who walked into a house and I think I told you guys this story before, but there was knob and tube in the house and we didn't know. And then we saw the disclosure statement. This was a long time ago. It was on the fridge and the seller had added, there's knob and tube. And the first buyer, they had an offer on the property, and the first buyer walked in and wrote an offer, found out there was knob and tube, and so they were walking away. And so we just walked in and wrote a backup offer. She knew that there was knob and tube, and so it wasn't an issue.
Right. So, you take it into account in your negotiations, and that gives you the opportunity to negotiate in good faith based on the reality in front of you. When you're negotiating on an object that you can't see inside the box, it's Schrodinger's real estate, and you can't tell what you're negotiating on. Is the roof working? Is it not working? Is there mold in the attic? Is there not mold in the attic? Is the perimeter drains working or not? We don't know this, but if the seller says, yes, we've had periodic water ingress, never been a major issue. On our perimeter drains, at least that's something that they can kind of anticipate we're going to discover something in an inspection anyway. So it's easier for us all to come to terms on right off the bat.
The other thing is preparing your buyer as you're walking through the house. We're not home inspectors, but we've seen a lot, and so we may say, there's a crack in the ceiling there, and that indicates this, or that we've seen in the past that indicates that, so that when the inspection happens after they've written the offer, they're aware that may come up, and then
as long as they remember what you told them. I mean, how often do you have people actually conveniently forget, or just there's a lot on their mind and they don't take it in as it doesn't land for them when you're talking to them when you're walking through the home, because there's a lot to see and they're looking at it and they're falling in love, and unless they as you said earlier, a lot of our clients are naive, and that's not to say that is a indictment on them, that there's something wrong with them.
They're trusting.
They're naive. They haven't bought a home for 5 years, or maybe only bought one, never have bought one, or maybe the last home they bought was 20 years ago. And so they don't know what they don't know. And there's a lot to know. And we don't remember how much we know, how much we've picked up over time. and we're not building inspectors, but we definitely have picked up a lot of cues and clues.
So I did a home inspection or a condo inspection yesterday with some people who were moving up from the US, very nice couple. And after they're like, you know what, we never get to walk the property with the inspector down there. We just get the report. Just the whole walking through was a big deal for them. Interesting, eh?
Yeah.
So we have a great system. I love our system. And I think for the most part, I think our realtors are really professional and at our board. I'm so glad I work here compared to
Victoria is a great place to do business, and I think it's that perfect size, the Goldilocks size, where it's small enough that we all have to look out for each other, and we know that we can't just go Wild West and not have any ramifications. So it filters out some of the bad eggs, and yet it's large enough that we can all we can all still have a business.
I was talking. Sorry, go ahead, Jen.
I was just going to say experience, like what we have right here, the amount of experience that we have is just that much more important, I believe, than Google reviews.
Yeah, true.
Right?
Yeah, yesterday I was talking to a newer realtor, but he's in another city. And I was telling him how I've mentored. So my business strategy for a long time was to bring in new realtors and mentor them. And it's actually really hard to do because there's a lot of nuances in our business. And one realtor would just get hot off the collar and just go like so angry at the other realtors. And I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have a transaction with them in like 2 years again.
You got to play nice in the sandbox.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
So two things. One to this is I just did a transaction with an agent, and I'm 20 years in the business, and they were 32 years in the business. I still felt intimidated. I still felt like I was the newbie. I was like, this is interesting. I mean, for whatever reason, I was, I just felt like, oh, this person is so much more knowledgeable. It's just, you've got your own little stuff. I mean, 20 years in the business, I know my stuff, but it was interesting.
So on the other hand, I was working with a realtor who kept saying, I'm new. And I said, listen, you got to stop telling me you're new, because I will tell you you're savvy. Okay. And there's savvy and new, and there's unsavvy and new. And I understand you're new, and I'll be kind, but you also have to understand that, you know a lot already.
There's also savvy and old and unsavvy and old. We have met those agents as well, where they've been doing this for a long time, but maybe they shouldn't still be doing this. Maybe they never should have been.
People are going to say that about us.
I wonder. Okay, they'll put us out faster.
I think we should get out of here before we get in trouble.
One last thing, because this, and I just don't know if anybody knows this or not, but I was talking to a new buyer the other day, and they were moving here from Ontario, and they're buying multiple properties, one in Ontario, one here. They were referring to the fact that they were told they had to attend the walkthrough by law in Ontario for a building inspection on the house. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I thought that was interesting. Jane is checking this out on AI.
No, but I have a sibling. So they do it in Ontario differently. So you hang around with the inspector while they're doing the inspection. And that's because there's a lack of trust in the inspection industry.
Okay.
Huh.
There. But here, the inspector does it, and then you do the walkthrough. So they're informed, but you're not interfering. Some buyers do want, like, especially if they come from Ontario, they want to be there with the inspector. And I'm like, just let them do their work. Yeah.
If we all know that if somebody's there asking us questions all throughout, it's going to take you off your stride and you're going to miss things. So let somebody do their work, be focused, spend the time and attention, and have their mind on the problem at hand, and then be able to report back to you. I think
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
best. I like that system, but it's the system we know. So
Give them space.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us today. Please like our show. If you have any questions, please send them along, and don't forget to subscribe as well. If you know somebody who is going through some change in their life and maybe they're looking for a realtor or mortgage broker, please share this with them because it's valuable information. So much wisdom in the room. Andrew, how do people reach you?
I'm Andrew Plank. I'm with the Vibe Collective at Royal LePage, and you can reach me at 250-360-6106, and email is info@andrewplank.com.
All right, and Jennifer.
Jen Lowe, mortgage broker with Dominion Lending Centers. My cell number 250-217-4925. Email is jen@jenlowe.ca, and my website is jenlowe.ca.
All right, and you can reach me. I'm Jane Johnston, and I'm with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Promotion. My number is 250-744-0775, and you can reach me at Jane at briarhillgroup.com or briarhillgroup@gmail.com. And don't forget to check us out on our website at briarhillgroup.com. All right, you guys, have a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday for our monthly market update. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for joining us on the Greater Victoria Real Estate Show.
We're here weekly bringing you up-to-date insights on the Greater Victoria real estate market.
Make sure to follow and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you listen to podcasts so you'll never miss an update.
We'll be back next week with more clarity around what's happening and what it means for you.